With that, I will turn it back to my colleague Candy, who is standing by live. That Compassion Forum is coming up in just less than 3 hours, if I can see the countdown clock on my monitor, which is very small, Candy. I think it says less than 3 hours
Absolutely.
to go.
I think you're right. You're right. In any case, 8 o'clock Eastern time. So, you know, we've been talking a lot about this Barack Obama comment. It is not just the word bitter, but many of his critics say what he did was say that working class Americans in these small towns are bitter because the government hasn't helped them in decades, their economic plight, and they have turned, or as he said, cling to their guns and their religion. That is causing quite an uproar here in Pennsylvania. Certainly, it is being stoked by the Clinton campaign as Hillary Clinton campaigns here as the candidate of the working class. It all really began last Sunday at a fundraiser Barack Obama attended in San Francisco. It was also attended by a so-called citizen journalist who had a tape recorder to tape record these remarks of Obama's. It went up on the Huffington Post on Friday. Here's a little bit of it.
And typically it's only people who aren't like them, or anti-immigrant sentiment, or anti-trade sentiment. And I would expect their frustrations.
So that was last Sunday night. It took a while for this to percolate up. It was posted on the Huffington Post Friday. The Clinton campaign all over it immediately with news releases, phone calls, and eventually the candidate herself. At some point on Friday night, we were with Barack Obama. He was in Terre Haute, and he felt the need to address the quotes that's being attributed to him. Here's a listen.
No, I'm in touch. I know exactly what's going on. I know what's going on in Pennsylvania. I know what's going on in Indiana. I know what's going on in Illinois.
But it wasn't over at that point. And then Barack Obama was holding on to what he said, saying, I was right, people are bitter. Again, it continued, and by Saturday in Muncie, he was still explaining.
So I said, well, you know, when you're bitter, you turn to what you can count on. So people, you know, they vote about guns, or they take comfort from their faith and their family and their community, and they get mad about illegal immigrants who are coming over to this country, or they get frustrated about, you know, how things are changing. That's a natural response. And now I didn't say it as well as I should have.
So after that, Barack Obama did an interview in North Carolina, because this may have an effect not just on Pennsylvania, but in coming primaries, particularly in North Carolina, in Indiana, where you just saw Obama. Both those states have primaries on May 6th. So in this interview with the Winston-Salem Journal yesterday, Obama said, and I quote, "If I worded things in a way that made people offended, I deeply regret that. The underlying truth of what I said remains, which is simply that people who have seen their way of life upended because of economic distress are frustrated, and rightfully so." So again, that was an interview that Barack Obama did with the Winston-Salem Journal, saying that he deeply regrets if his words offended anyone. On the central point, he remains solid. He says it is that people in economic distress have been ignored by their government, and they have been frustrated by that for over 20 years. Now, as I understand it, we are now going to my colleague Jim Acosta in Indianapolis. That may be right, Jim. I know
right,
that
Candy,
others have already talked about this, in particular John McCain and Hillary Clinton.
That's right, Candy. And as the story was developing over the weekend, we were seeing surrogates from both sides of this campaign weighing in. Yesterday, when I was in Indiana, parts of Indiana covering Hillary Clinton, you know, our BlackBerry runneth over with emails from Hillary Clinton's campaign mentioning some of their surrogates, some of their superdelegate surrogates, and what they were saying about this verbal gaffe from Barack Obama. But the Obama campaign is also sending out its surrogates. On one of the Sunday talk shows this morning, Tom Daschle, the former Democratic Majority Leader in the Senate, he also weighed in on the controversy and defended the Illinois senator.
I'm amused that anybody who's made over $110 million would call somebody else elitist. But this is a man who was raised by a single mother, who chose to work in one of the poorest neighborhoods of Chicago, who's dedicated his whole life to the disenfranchised. Barack Obama understands with a passion how important it is that we change this country, and recognizes that unless we change Washington, we can't change the lives of the people that he was talking about over the last couple of days.
Tom Daschle talking to reporters there, staking out one of the Sunday talk shows, defending the Illinois senator and taking a jab at Hillary Clinton in this controversy. And speaking of Hillary Clinton, she was campaigning in Scranton, Pennsylvania this morning, not only to highlight her biography and how she spent part of her childhood in that part of northeastern Pennsylvania. She, too, was keeping the drumbeat going in this controversy, calling on Barack Obama to fully explain his comments.
Well, I think what's important about this is that Senator Obama has not owned up to what he said and taken accountability for it. You know, first he said he was right and attacked me for raising his remarks and referencing them. Then he admitted he may have said what he said inartfully, and now he's deeply apologized if he's offended anyone. But what people are looking for is an explanation. You know, what does he really believe? How does he see the people here in this neighborhood, throughout Pennsylvania, Indiana, North Carolina, other places in our country? And I think that's what people are looking for, some explanation, and he has simply not provided one.
And the second half of Team Clinton is campaigning in Pennsylvania today. The former President Bill Clinton was in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. He was asked about this controversy.
Folks, I was shaking hands and taking a few pictures backstage. This fellow looked at me and he said, "I just want you to know the people you're about to see are not bitter. They're proud." They just want this country to go in a different direction. They want to restore the middle class, reclaim the future for our kids, reform the government, take it away from the special interests, restore America's standing in the world, bring our troops home from Iraq, and take care of our veterans and our men and women in uniform. That's what Hillary offers. And you know, there's been a lot of hoopla about who said what and who shot John the last couple of days. But one of the things that I thought was kind of overlooked in all this is that one more time the campaigns opposite Hillary said, well, there really wasn't any difference in the Clinton years and the Bush years. Rural Pennsylvania didn't do very well. Do you agree with that? I just thought I'd get a few witnesses here. It's, you know, I'm a Baptist. On Sunday we look for witnesses.
Bill Clinton looking for a few witnesses there in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania.
Then he says, quote, reportedly, and it's not surprising then that they get bitter. They cling to guns or religion or antipathy to people who aren't like them, or anti-immigrant sentiment or anti-trade sentiment as a way to explain their frustrations. Kirsten, how potentially damaging is that to Barack Obama?
I would think if it really happened that it would be very damaging. I'm always a little leery when I hear things and I haven't been able to talk to the campaign and confirm that he actually said it. It really comes off very badly, particularly for Pennsylvania. And I just think, forget Pennsylvania, generally it comes off really badly.
Yeah. You know, this country is not anti-gun and it's not anti-religion, and usually the Democrats are a lot more ginger in stepping around these issues than that, Kirsten.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's been a couple times where he's done this where you do start to see who he really is, like you just said. I mean, I think he said it when he was talking about, he said he didn't want children or girls to be punished by having a baby, and he was talking about birth control. There are things that I think in a liberal world sound totally normal, and outside of that world, I don't know that he appreciates how it sounds. And it just sounds very elitist, and it sounds like you're looking down on people. And I don't think that people want to feel like that.
I think he was talking about abortion, in fact, and it became a problem. And, you know, it's just like now, I think that people are starting to see his numbers go down in terms of favorability. And what you've seen in the head-to-head matchups with McCain that you're talking about, Megan, is all of a sudden he's actually behind McCain in the latest AP Ipsos poll and tied with Senator Clinton's a little bit ahead. But the big story is a 10 percentage point drop since February, that he had a 10-point lead on McCain. No longer the case. And I think it's things like this. It's Reverend Wright. It's this kind of statement. It's the wife. I think a lot of people are saying, maybe I'm not as comfortable as I was before.
Yeah.
and I was raised with Midwestern values and an unshakable faith in America and its promise. Now, like some of you may have been, I was taken aback by the demeaning remarks Senator Obama made about people in small-town America. Senator Obama's remarks are elitist and they're out of touch. They are not reflective of the values and beliefs of Americans. Certainly not the Americans that I know, not the Americans I grew up with, not the Americans I lived with in Arkansas or represent in New York. You know, Americans who believe in the Second Amendment believe it's a matter of constitutional right. Americans who believe in God believe it's a matter of personal faith. Americans who believe in protecting good American jobs believe it's a matter of the American dream.